Imagine transforming your martial arts school into the thriving hub of your community. With classes filled to capacity, students eagerly progressing through the ranks, and your business growing steadily every single month. In this video, I'm going to share with you the proven strategies and the insider secrets that have helped thousands of martial arts schools just like yours not only survive, but to thrive. From cutting-edge marketing techniques to innovative retention strategies and powerful management tools, you'll discover everything you'll need to take your martial arts school to the next level. Let's get started. Welcome to the channel. I'm Ron Sell. Over the last 30 years, I've dedicated my entire life to learning, teaching, and helping others learn martial arts. I'm a 7th degree black belt. I've owned martial arts schools all of my entire life for the last 23 years. Now let's talk about understanding your market. We have to know, who are we actually teaching? Who do we want to teach? A lot of times when you first open a business, you think that everyone is your customer. But the truth is, you're probably not ready to teach every single type of customer. Are you ready to teach, 2 and 3 year olds? Or maybe you are. Do you want to go after the teen market? Are you an adult only school? So that's the first step, is we have to understand who and what kind of students do we actually want to teach, that we're great at teaching. And sometimes we call this understanding our customer avatar or our target market. You might have heard of those terms before. And it's so important that the first thing that we do is we get a piece of paper out and we start writing down everything that we know about our target market, or the target market that we want to go after. If you're already an existing school, it's very easy. Just figure out the best 2 or 3 students that you have in your school, the ones that you absolutely love teaching, the ones that really love your program, and start thinking about them and their qualities. Like, where do they hang out? Are they go to church? Are they involved in Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts? Where do they work? What neighborhoods do they live in? What are the shopping places that they go to? What kind of cars do they drive? Like, really deep dive into who is your customer. And once you have this written down, now we can go after customers that are more like them. Wouldn't that be better if we took the customers that we really love to teach, that were eager students, that wanted to learn, that wanted to be in your school, and we just multiplied them over and over? So start writing down all of the different qualities. Now let's talk about marketing strategies. Like, how do we get our students involved in the first place? There's several different strategies that we could go after. I like to look at marketing as a multi-channel or multi-leg approach. So think about this. You're fishing, right? Maybe deep sea fishing. If you've ever been to that, it's pretty fun. And you throw one pole out and you're fishing with this one pole. And maybe you catch something, maybe you don't. But what happens if you throw 8 different poles out there in the ocean and you're fishing? You're going to have a lot better chance of going home with fish that day. The same thing happens when it comes to marketing a martial arts school. If we only do one thing, let's say Facebook ads, and for some reason that month, Facebook ads just doesn't work as well. Maybe you're used to getting 10 new students a month and now Facebook didn't give you any. So now you have a month that's just terrible. And we don't want that to happen. So we want to have a multi-channel approach. So I look at it as, we have 3 different types of marketing. We have online marketing, where you're doing search engine marketing, you're doing SEO, you're paying for ads on Google, and you're paying for ads maybe on Instagram or Facebook, and that's great. And then you also have internal marketing inside your school. We're talking about referral programs. We're talking about events like a parents' night out or birthday parties, where you're inviting friends of your current students to come into your school to participate in some fun activity. And at the end, you offer, hey, if you liked it today, why don't you come back and try it out next week? You also have external events, and that is demonstrations at maybe the local church or Boy Scouts or Girl Scouts, or maybe you do a booth at the local mall. There's hundreds of ways to market. And a mentor of mine once told me that there's not just one way to enroll 20 new students per month, but there are 20 ways to enroll 1 member each. And I think that's the strategy that works in the biggest schools. You do several different things. Like I said before about the fishing lines, you do several things every single month that will bring in new students. Now, it's very easy to enroll new students. And that is, make sure that they absolutely fall in love with your program. and give them what they want. And if you do that, your marketing is easy. One thing that I do is I go to Starbucks and I grab about 4 different coffees. All right. And I walk into a local business that's right around my area. And I walk in and I'm in my martial arts uniform with these 4 coffees. And I say, hey, my name's Ron. I own the karate school right next door to you and we're neighbors. And I brought you guys some coffee, or you can use donuts or anything like that. And you just walk in and you hand it to them and you smile and you have a conversation. That's so important that we just have a conversation with the people that own businesses around us. They get to know me. They get to like me. They get to trust me. Maybe in a couple of weeks, I'll come back with another set of donuts or another 4 coffees. And I'll say, hey, just checking on you. You guys doing well? And then I'll say something like this. Hey, have you ever thought about doing martial arts before? It's a lot of fun. It's great for adults because it helps you, de-stress, and it helps you get in better shape, and it makes you feel good, and all of those types of things. Have you ever thought about doing martial arts? And let's just have the conversation. Maybe they say, yeah, I have thought about that. We'll invite them into a class. Maybe they say, no, I haven't, but my kid, he's been talking about doing martial arts. And now the conversation shifts to something like that. It's just an easy way for you to walk in to a business, strike up a conversation, become friends, be known, liked, and trust. And then that easily conversation goes into something like, why don't you come in and try it out? Now let's talk about enrollment and retention techniques. Enrollments actually are pretty easy. I know a lot of people have this weird vibe about the word sales and selling a martial arts membership. And I don't look at it that way at all. You see, I think that sales is really helping your prospect that just walked in the door really get what they want out of life. I know that you probably have witnessed this in your own school, that we've seen kids become more confident, and we've seen adults de-stress, and we've seen adults get in better shape and more flexible and develop friendships. And we've seen kids get more focused and leadership skills. I mean, we've seen so many transformations. If you haven't done this exercise yet, I recommend that you sit down with your staff and you write down every example that you can think of ways that your program has transformed your students' lives. Put names to it. Like Joshua used to be shy and now he's a rock star. And Sally, everybody uses that word Sally, don't they? Sally wouldn't look you in the eye and was making bad grades and was getting picked on at school. And now she's doing well and on the honor roll. I mean, like, really think about every single time your program has benefited someone. And once you are armed with that kind of information, now sales becomes easy, because when someone walks into your school and they say, my son is really having problems with bullies, you can think of 9 other kids that your program has helped overcome the bully. And if an adult comes in and says, I'm really stressed out at work and I'm anxious all the time and I want to quit my job and I don't like it, you've had hundreds of other adults that have come to you and told you those same things, and you've helped them through that by your program. You see, that's really what enrolling people in martial arts is all about. It's like you have the cure to what they are needing in their life, and you're not selling them anything. You are taking them to the path. Now let's talk about the next thing. And that is, the sale really happens during the intake portion of their first lesson. And maybe you're not doing intakes. And if you're not, then you need to right away. But this is where the real sale happens. You see, they come in for their first lesson. And what we have in Spark, our software, is this iPad that you have all these questions that you want your prospect to answer. And on those, and we call it an intake form. And on that form is basically, obviously, their name and their email address and all of that, and the waiver that they sign digitally. But more importantly, it's like, adults love martial arts because it helps them get in better shape, or, all of the benefits. Or if it's a kid and their mom is filling it out, it lists all the benefits. Why do you want to learn martial arts? And what they do is they check off the different things. And here's where the sale's made. I look at that form before we ever do the lesson, and I say, Mrs. Smith, I noticed that you wanted your kid to be more confident. Like, why did you say that? And mom's going to say, well, they're getting picked on at school. Or she's going to say, at school, they're not raising their hand when they have questions and they're falling behind. And so you get really down to the real reason why they want your program. And as soon as you know that, and you know that you've helped hundreds of other students go through the same thing, with confidence and with certainty, you can talk about your program and how it's going to help them. And it's so much easier to enroll a person that you're giving them the exact thing that they need, and you can back that up with hundreds of examples in your own school in the past. Now, let's say that you don't have hundreds of examples in the past. Maybe you have one or two or three. That's fine. Start creating and remembering more and more of the things that you do to help people. And your whole sales process will be unbelievably more simple. So now let's talk about retention. You've enrolled all of these students, and this is where the big schools, the ones that are doing the best in this world, this is where they focus their time on, and that is retaining their students, not letting so many of their students fall through the cracks or quit. You see, the first 90 days are the most crucial. I've often heard big schools tell me, they say, if I just keep them past 90 to 100 days, I'll keep them for years to come. So the biggest thing that you can do is create an experience for these brand new students in the first 90 days that will allow them to fall in love with the martial arts and your program, to allow them to feel like they belong in a program such as yours, to start developing friendships right in your program. The quicker that you can make them feel a part of your program, the quicker that they can develop friendships, and the quicker that they feel like they actually belong and they're getting something out of your program, the better. As soon as they fall in love with the martial arts, just like me and you did, I mean, that's why we're still around, aren't we? We are around, and after decades of being in martial arts, because we fell in love with the martial arts. So how do you do that for your own students? How can you get them to feel a part of your culture in your school? I think if you sat down with your team, you'll come up with around 10 different reasons. The first thing is just making sure they feel comfortable from the very first time they step on the mat. Introduce them to other students. Let them start making those friendships. Did you know, Roland Osborne taught me this, and when he taught me this, I thought that it literally changed my mind about retention. Did you know that if you know like 4 to 10 things about someone, you'll never ever bully them? Matter of fact, you'll have compassion and friendship for them. So how in the world can you get your students to know more about each other? Well, conversations. Conversations and introductions is going to help your retention more than anything else. Obviously, you have to have an incredible program that has high standards and high quality and care about those students and their progress. The other thing is on retention would be during that intake form, and they say, my kid needs to be more confident, or I need to de-stress, or whatever the benefits that they wanted when they came in. You have to deliver on your promise, because if you don't, they're going to move on. If they needed to lose weight and they're not losing weight, they have to look for another solution because your solution is not working for them. If their kid needs to be more confident and they're not getting more confident, they have to find another solution and they'll quit. So it's super important that we make sure that what we promised when we sold them their membership, they're actually getting from our program. How do we enhance our student experience? Notice I use the word experience. I think it's so important that we actually craft an experience for our students as they're in our schools. I recently took my son to Disney World here in Florida, Orlando, and they are experts at creating experiences that you want to keep coming back. As a matter of fact, at the end of the day, I don't know if you've ever been to Disney World or something like that. We're all tired. We're miserable. Kids are crying, right? Because they're exhausted and their emotions are very low. And the next morning, my son says, hey, can we go back tomorrow? It's because the experience was so good. We have to have the same experience in our schools. Well, how do we do that? First of all, we have to have a very clean school. From the bathrooms to the mats to the mirrors, it's got to smell great. I mean, we really have to focus on daily cleaning. As a matter of fact, the best schools out there that I've talked to, they clean twice per day. Because somewhere around 6 o'clock p.m., they have one of their staff members go through the entire school again, making sure that everything is right. The bathrooms, the changing areas, all of that is in peak position. So when the people come in at 6:15, they have the same experience as those that came earlier in the day. The second thing that we have to do is create connections like a family-like atmosphere inside of our school so that people feel like they belong. Maybe we could even add things in like a tournament team or a demo team or a leadership team or some sort of team that they can be part of. I think that's super important. Another way that we can extend the experience in our school is to really communicate to our students. And we communicate that way several different ways. Obviously, face-to-face, in person. Our front desk person needs to communicate what's going on in the school over the next several weeks. And they need to continue to communicate as often as they can. We cannot over-communicate. On the floor, every class, if there's announcements coming on, make sure that we communicate that. If there's issues that we need to address and help our students become better, then maybe even little one-on-ones with the parents and let them know, hey, I see what's going on here. We're going to give them the assistance that they need and the help that they need to get back on track. Having a newsletter that goes out, use Spark to send out emails and SMS text messages, and use our mobile apps to send out push notifications to make sure that everyone knows what's going on in the school. Maybe they're testing for a new belt, and that needs to be communicated. Exactly what's going to happen, how it's going to happen. Like really making their experience something that they're not shocked about. Like they walk in, they go, oh my goodness, what's going on now? But they actually understand what's going on. It's in a process, and that has to be communicated. The biggest experience that we need to give is the training that they receive. Your standards should be very high. I noticed that the schools that do the best financially are also the ones that have the best quality of martial arts instructing. As a matter of fact, they send their instructors off to learn how to teach at like Roland Osborne's events. They make sure every week that they're practice drilling and rehearsing not only communication techniques, but the curriculum, so that their instructors are the best of the best at not only teaching martial arts, but communicating and leadership skills, so their students are led to the best that they can be. And then delivering on those promises that we promised them. Like, are we helping them become more confident, a better leader, bully proof? Are our adult students getting in better shape and feel better and more flexible and stress relief and all those things? So, our high standards of instruction are so important to the success of our students, which ultimately leads to our success and a great experience. A lot of school owners think that there's only a couple ways that they can earn money in their karate schools or their martial arts schools. And that's simply not true. So there are tuition. That is the big one. But the next thing would be upgrades, upgraded memberships. You see, you have a lot of students that they just love your program and they want more. They want to come more often or learn new things. So we have upgraded programs. We also have seminars that we can teach. We also have a pro shop, like using Spark's shopping cart, where parents and students can purchase right off of your own website through Spark. We also have private lessons, one-on-ones, semi-private lessons that we can use to earn money. We also have activities and events like parents' night outs or birthday parties. There's so many different ways that you can earn money from your students. So start adding maybe more each month. The next thing that we need to do is we need to use and look at our KPIs, or our key performance indicator, our stats of our business. And we need to make sure that we keep our eye on those stats. I would use our software Spark, because all of your KPIs, all of your stats are in reports that all you have to do is just look at it and say, here is my weaknesses. You see, if you're going to fly an airplane or drive a car, you're going to need to know the direction that you're going and how much gas that you have and how long it's going to take you if you're going to make sure that that's a successful trip. The same thing happens in business. We need to run our business by the numbers. Use something like Spark to make sure that every single area of your business is being run properly. And if you find an area of weakness, that's great. All you need to do is practice, drill, rehearse, spend some time on that one area, improve it, work with your staff to improve it. And then you'll look at your stats again and find your next weakness. And you just keep leveling up every different area. What are some of the stats that we should look at? Number one, how many leads are you getting in each month? How many of those leads are raising their hand and saying, yes, I would like to come in for my first lesson? How many of those folks that have an appointment with you are showing up? What's the statistic on that? Of the people that are showing up, how many are enrolling into your program? Of those that are enrolling in the first 90 days, how many of those are staying past 90 days? Also, for your entire student body, what is your churn rate, or how many people are you losing every single month? All of these are super important to understand where you are in your business. And any of those areas that are a weakness, we just spend the time and improve them. Work with our staff to make sure that we're experts in those certain areas, and then those areas will improve. So let's talk about software to run your school. Obviously, I'm from Spark. I created Spark, and I did it because I wanted to make sure that school owners, whether they had 10 students or 500 students or anything in the middle, could spend more of their time on the floor changing lives and less time doing crazy paperwork or computer work or data entry and all of that. So I really created a software that would make it all in one. What do I mean by all in one? Typically you have to have software that will collect your tuition, right? Every month, deposit it. You have to have software that will send out an email. You have to have software that'll send out an SMS. You have to have software that'll, organize all of this so that you have some KPIs, right? So that you know where your business is at. You have to have software to do your reporting. You have to have software okay, you understand what I mean. There's so many different softwares that you would need to buy, duct tape them all together, use some Excel spreadsheets by copying and pasting and moving it from one to the other. And that to me sounded like you would spend all of your time doing that and not enjoy it whatsoever. So I created Spark, and Spark is great for all of that. If you only have 50 students, I think it's really great for you to use Spark, because what you really need is help. You need to hire someone to help you do all of the tasks that you just don't have the time for. And unfortunately, that's going to cost you about 20 to 30 bucks an hour. And if you do the math on that, you're going to be spending $1,500 to $2,000 a month to hire someone that's going to help you. That Spark would literally replace that person for a fraction of the cost. If you have 100 students, or 200 or 300 or 400 or 500 or plus, Spark's going to make it so much easier for you to organize, for you to be able to manage that many students simply and easily, because we made it to do that. So the Spark is your best bet. So go check out Spark. We'll put a link in the description below. I'd like to talk about community building and networking. I've been in the martial arts for 30 years. I've owned schools for 23 years of those 30 years. And if I look back on what really made me successful, and that was when I reached out to other school owners and said, hey, let's be friends, let's share information together, and let's grow together. And then I started hanging out with groups of martial arts school owners that all had the same heartbeat that I did. And we built communities. And those communities were helpful because we were willing to share information back and forth. We were willing to share our victories and celebrate each other's. And we were also willing to say, you know what, I'm just not doing so well in this particular area. Later on, I spent hundreds of thousands of dollars joining masterminds and learning from people that really shaped who I was as a salesperson, as a leader, as a motivator, as a martial arts instructor, and as a business person. And I think that's super important. We have to come together. We have to build communities. We have to share with each other. And when we do that, all boats rise with that tide. One of the best communities that we've ever created was the Spark community and our Thrive community. It is passionate martial arts instructors and school owners that have the same sort of vision and mission for the future, and that is to create an enormous and great business, and at the same time to help a lot of people, including our own staff. My recommendation will always be seek out information and groups of people that have the same heartbeat and the same vision that you have, and let's all grow together. So I just gave you a great overview of how to grow your martial arts business. To help you further, I have made a whole series of videos that go deeper into each one of these topics. Click the video that's on your screen right now, and I'll see you there.